The problem is simple: too many games, too little attention, and the algorithm does not care about small teams. Before I walk you through the month in order, there is one thing you should know. One of these games started as a weekend prototype during a small game jam and somehow turned into a full commercial release. Another one is being made by a former AAA developer who left a big studio because they were tired of making the same sequel again and again. So, like always, let's randomly cover some of the indie games dropping this month. Let's open with a game that honestly deserves way more attention than it is getting. Tales of BLOOMRISE is a pixel art action RPG developed by a solo Brazilian developer, and the concept is one of those things that sounds simple until you actually play it and realize it is doing something genuinely clever. During the day, you live in BLOOMRISE, a peaceful village built on soil full of ancient secrets. You help the community, build relationships with the villagers, and just live a normal life. Then night falls, and normal life is done. You grab your weapons and descend into procedurally generated dungeons full of monsters, puzzles, and the final chest at the end if you're lucky enough to make it there. Then you come back up, return to village life, rest, and do it all again. The pixel art looks gorgeous, with modern visual effects layered on top of a classic style. On the same day, MAYDAY Protocol from developer Wazong Games also lands on March 2, and this one is the most creative multiplayer concept I have seen in a while. The setup is simple. Your plane is going down, systems are failing, warnings are flashing everywhere. You have minutes, maybe less. Here's the catch: the player sitting in the pilot seat can see the cockpit but has no idea what any of it means. The other players, 1 to 3 co-pilots, have the manual. They know what everything means, but they cannot see the screen. Your only tool is your voice. You describe, they interpret, you execute, and hopefully nobody dies. It launches on March 2nd on Steam for PC. March 3rd also brings Ham, the game, developed by Little Bird Studios and published by Cathedral Studios. And this one is exactly what it sounds like, and somehow even more than that. You're working in a ham factory, you and your friends. There are ham hoppers to fill, conveyor belts to operate, deliveries to catch, equipment to repair, and a quota board on the wall that never stops climbing. One player is the manager, everyone else is staff. The manager controls ingredient machines and tries to keep the operation from collapsing. The staff members do everything else, while also having the power to vote the manager out at the end of each day if they think the job is being done badly, which it usually is. Scott Pilgrim X, developed by Tribute Games. Wait, is this indie? It seems indie. This is a brand new beat-em-up adventure set in a future, time-warp version of Toronto, where 3 gangs called the Vegans, the Robots, and the Demons have taken over the city and kidnapped the members of Sex Bomb. So naturally, Scott Pilgrim, Ramona Flowers, and 5 other playable characters, including former enemies Matthew Patel and Robot 01, have to bash their way through all of it. The story was co-written by the original creator of the Scott Pilgrim series, Brian Lee O'Malley, and the game supports up to 4-player local and online co-op. There is a demo on Steam right now if you want to test it. On March 4th, Nevergrave, The Witch and the Curse, from developer Frontside 180 and published by Pocket Pair, the same studio behind Palworld. This is a metroidvania crossed with a roguelike, and the central mechanic is one of the most creative things I have seen in the genre in a while. You do not play as the witch, you play as her cursed hat. The hat can fly, cast magic, and most importantly, possess enemies. When you possess an enemy, you gain their specific ability, which you can then use to solve puzzles, open new paths, and fight other enemies. The dungeons are procedurally generated, so every run is different. And when you survive and come back to the hub village, you can spend your loot on building new facilities and upgrading your character for the next attempt. On top of all that, it seems that it supports 4-player online co-op with crossplay across all platforms. Interesting. If you have ever played Creepy Shift, Roadside Dinner, you already know what this series is about. If you haven't, here is the pitch. You take a boring job in a creepy location. You do normal work. And then the normal work stops being normal. In Uncle Joe's Motel, you play as an actress who is running from trouble and takes a housekeeping job to make ends meet. You make beds, you vacuum, you take out the trash, and you find things people have left behind. Objects that say something about who they are. Little clues that your imagination fills in the gaps around. The atmosphere is noir, dark, and unsettling. The kind of place where the guests you least want to interact with are naturally the ones you cannot avoid. More than one game drops on March 5th. We are starting with Planet of Lana 2, Children of the Leaf, developed by Wishfully and published by Thunderful. The original Planet of Lana came out in 2023 and was this gorgeous, emotional, side-scrolling puzzle platformer set on an alien world. It got a lot of attention partly through Xbox Game Pass, and it deserved every bit of it. The sequel follows Lana and her companion Mui into new biomes, including frozen mountains, underwater sections, and forest communities. The story should be told entirely through visuals, music, and a made-up in-game language that you learn to understand through play. This means that every piece of visual and mechanical design has to carry the narrative weight that words normally handle. And then there is the other March 5 release, which is the one everyone is actually watching. Slay the Spire 2 from Megacrit enters early access on March 5th. And if you need me to explain why this is a big deal, you might have missed the last several years of indie gaming. The original Slay the Spire, released in full in 2019 after a successful early access run, is widely credited with establishing the deck-building roguelike as one of the most dominant genres in indie games. Hundreds of games have drawn direct inspiration from it. The sequel is built from scratch in the Godot engine after Megacrit moved away from Unity in 2023. It brings back the Ironclad, the Silent, and the Defect alongside two new characters, the Necrobinder and the Regent. And it adds something the original never had: 4-player online co-op, with multiplayer-specific cards and team synergies designed specifically around group play. Megacrit has said the early access period will last roughly 1 to 2 years. One day later, on March 6, Lost and Found Co. launches on PC via Steam. This is developed and published by Big Egg Inc., a studio based in Bangkok, Thailand. Lost and Found Co. is a hidden object adventure game where you play as Ducky, a duck who has somehow become a human intern at a magical startup run by a dragon goddess called Maid. The company's job is to find lost items for quirky townspeople across a series of hand-drawn locations. Think Where's Waldo, but with a story, puzzles, and a mystery unfolding in the background about why the villain Mr. K. Odds is causing chaos. March 11 brings Bubblegum Galaxy, developed by Smarto Club and published by Astrolabe Games, the same developer behind the beloved cozy game Teacup. The premise is one of the more absurd and charming things I have come across recently. You are an intern who starts a new job, and on your first day, someone accidentally deletes the entire galaxy. So now you have to rebuild it, tile by tile, by designing planets on a grid. Each planet has its own rules and quirks, and no two will look the same. In between planet building, you are also exploring your office and befriending your co-workers, uncovering the mystery of who caused the whole galaxy to be deleted in the first place. This one is a cozy farming and exploration game where you sail the high seas on a floating farm with your dinosaur companion, discovering islands, collecting rare crops and fish, and working toward earning the title of Named Collector. There is no combat, no enemies, just ocean, exploration, and the calming satisfaction of a well-managed farm on a boat with a friendly prehistoric creature. There is also a Steam demo available, and save data from the demo carries directly into the full game, which is a nice touch and something I think more developers should consider. It lowers the barrier to trying the game and rewards people who were already invested. Rounding out the March 12 releases, Solasta 2 enters early access on Steam. This is developed by Tactical Adventures. This sequel uses the updated D&D 2024 SRB rule set, launches with 6 classes and 4 ancestries, and includes a full voice cast featuring some notable names. The early access version includes a portion of the first act with a level cap of 4. The studio expects the early access period to last about a year. If you are a tabletop player who has ever wished a video game would just actually commit to the rules, Solasta 2 is consistently one of the most recommended names in that conversation. Closing out the month on March 26, yeah, that's right, GRIDBEAT from developer Ridiculous Games and published by Acclaim. This is the setup. You are a hacker who just broke into GNOS OS, the most fortified corporate network on the planet, and stole a bunch of valuable data. Now you are trapped inside the system and have to escape through a procedurally generated digital labyrinth. The catch is that every single action, every step you take, every attack, every interaction with the environment has to happen on the beat of the music. If your timing is off, you risk shutdown. It is a rhythm game crossed with a dungeon crawler, and the cyberpunk visual style is apparently built specifically to complement the soundtrack rather than just exist alongside it. That kind of cohesive audio-visual design is genuinely hard to pull off, and when it works, it makes a game feel completely unified in a way that is hard to explain but very easy to feel when you are playing. So, that is March 2026, a solid month for indie games. If this is how the year is starting, I genuinely cannot wait to see what comes next. Drop a comment and tell me which one you are actually buying. And if I missed something coming out this month, call me out, I want to know. And like always, thanks for watching!